This week on the DDU show, more Scarier Pt4, VR horror, contemporary.
Inside the mind, but inside the mind, but inside.
All right, everybody, welcome to the DDU show.
We had to say contemporary, so you didn't think we were going to just talk about Lawnmower Man.
This week on the DDU show, we are wrapping up our topic of more Scarier. Right around this Halloween time, just a week and a half shy of Lord Trump taking the crown, taking the throne.
Finally defeating that crooked Hillary.
That's right. He was able to wrangle the reindeer with anthrax in the north.
Mm-hmm.
I think by befriending and forming an alliance with the Zika mosquitoes.
He rides now. He's got his horse-sized Zika mosquito.
Right, but still baby-sized hands.
Yeah, that's how he's able to maintain the controls.
Well, it's because his hair covers up his enlarged pineal gland.
Yeah.
So that's why you don't ever see if he moved his hair a little bit, you'd see the protruding.
He is from beyond.
He is. You
So,
can tell by the color of him.
And that's why he sees all these things that I don't see.
Yes.
So I'm Trump Northeastern Lieutenant John Holt. Who are you, Keith?
Keith Vincent. I've got no affiliation to the Lord Trump.
Oh my God! You better get on board, or it'll be in
He'll
one of the
notice.
camps.
He'll notice soon. He's smart.
I'm special Trump guest, Jocko Farino, and I'm so sad that this is my last week with you guys.
I know you've been here a month. It's
know.
been great.
It's been great.
I know
Well,
they're
I
going to
just-
cart you off to the other side of the wall.
I
Well,
know.
before
it's
I hear
okay
it's
over there.
vacation time. I mean, I see the smoke from all the barbecues.
Yeah, it's not so bad.
Wait, are you right-handed?
I am.
Oh, you'll be fine.
Oh, okay.
I did want to know though, before we carry this terrible bit any further.
Yeah.
I just wanted to say, keep us informed about your film project. We'll keep our listeners informed because
Thank you.
I think that'd
Yeah.
be really neat to keep those updates.
Kind of follow it
Yeah,
in
yeah.
real time. Yeah,
Mhm.
absolutely.
And maybe we'll start that book club.
Yeah.
Well,
Yeah.
Start.
Yeah.
Audiobook club.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You can do it however you want to do it.
Jules,
But
what
yeah,
about you?
that first trial didn't go so bad.
Oh yeah.
No,
What's
not
that?
at
What's
all.
you? Who are you talking?
Oh, yeah.
I'm Julian Cage.
Yeah. Definitely
Hello.
on the short list of people getting thrown on the other side of the wall when
Right.
Commander
He's in the
when-
short list for the
That's
short
true.
bus.
when Commander Trump takes over.
That's right. You could again. Those barbecues are going day and night.
Yeah.
I don't know what they're
I
cooking
heard-
there, but it smells delicious. I think it's ham or some sort of bacon. Just going all the time.
It's Mexican food, dude.
Long pig, man.
When Gaddafi died, I understand Donald Trump paid for a lot of his wardrobe, so when he's done, he gets all those cool clothes that Gaddafi's.
nice.
And his
When he
tents.
finally becomes president, he gets
Oh,
to.
that would make him look a lot more presidential. I
Yeah,
think.
yeah,
Yeah.
definitely.
I mean,
He's got a somebody gave him a Purple Heart to put on his
That's
badge
great.
of other.
He's always wanted one.
medals. Yeah.
I feel like we're Trump baiting. Like, is this all just because we do really want a tweet from him being like, 4 losers podcasting, never heard of them?
You
Sad.
got us. You nailed us.
Yeah.
but the
just
thing is,
looking
I
for-
like to
we're
think of
looking for
him
press.
floating
Press
around.
is good press.
I mean, it's yeah. I like thinking of him floating around,
Yeah.
pulling out people's Purple Heart plugs and just watching them die.
As a consumer of podcasts, if he went after every podcast that said anything negative, I think he wouldn't have time to do anything else.
I mean, the scary thing is, like, we're recording this in advance, and oh my God, I do hope that these are jokes.
Yeah.
More scarier. Well, they'll be that much more relevant.
I
yeah.
know. I mean, again, they'll be used in our military tribunals
It's true. I'm just a guest here. I would,
against his will.
yeah.
We coerced him here. I'm sorry, President Trump.
I love you. Trump.
Sun God King Trump.
Sun Ra. Trump.
He's torn down all the other buildings in New York except for Trump Tower.
Finally, it's the tallest.
Yeah. In the world.
Anyway, we've got a show. We
What are
make
we
the
talking
show.
about?
We talk about stuff we love,
Yeah. Well,
and we try to convince other people that it's not crappy,
Right.
and maybe they'll watch it.
and sometimes we're like, no, it's pretty crappy, but you should check it out.
Yeah.
So what's new to you this week, Keith?
Oh yeah, me. A couple things. The new Malcolm Gladwell. Well, I guess it's not that new. The Malcolm Gladwell podcast called revisionist history is fantastic. I really, really love it. Since I always talk about podcasts, maybe I should talk about something else. I saw this movie called Turbo Kid on Netflix. I think I'm only talking about it because it kind of fits into the theme of our last month of podcasts, which are, kind of horror type movies. But it's more of a sci-fi post-apocalyptic future movie, and it feels just like the 80s, like a crappy straight-to-video 80s movie. It's super, super well done.
Nice.
And it's in the vein of Kung Fury.
Yeah, Kung Fury is more farcical almost. Like this movie tries to kind of be one of those movies in the like Solar Babies-esque kind of feel. Kind of like Hobo with a Shotgun as well. So it's more along those lines than Kung Fury.
Like it's a little more like legit. What is all right? Homage
Isn't it
is
like a
when you're like
sum-
playing when you're paying homage to, but pastiche is when you're like trying to make something that is as close to a being of that thing, right?
Was
So
this
that's
sort of like Son of Rambo? Remember that?
I loved Son of
Yeah.
Rambo. The director of that directed some film, like kind of a high-end film that kind of flopped, and then went on to direct Son of Rambo, which I really liked.
Inception.
No, I'll tell you what it is. I don't know what you'd call it, because what it is it's trying to feel like an old 80s post-apocalypse movie where everybody rides bicycles in the desert. It's so funny because even like the big bad guy who's he's like a Rip Torn-esque type of guy. It's not Rip Torn though, he died. It's
Hitchhiker's Guide to the Galaxy.
what?
The guy who did Son of Rambo.
Oh yeah. Thank you for setting that straight. No, the guy that was General Ryjack from Starship Troopers. He's the main. The guy who plays him is the main bad guy, and even he like rides in the sidecar of this other dude's like dirt bike. Yeah, BMX dirt bike. So everyone's pedaling all the time in the movie. It's pretty funny.
So it is a lot like Solar Babies.
Yeah. Except instead
Or
of
roller
rollers,
babies.
solar babies. But instead of inexplicably being
Rollerblades.
able to roller skate through the desert, everyone's riding these bikes. It's really funny. Even there's this guy who's kind of like the big like loner badass kind of Mad Max type character, and even he rides like okay, and he gets on a bike and rides off. There's a lot of really clever stuff in this.
Better done than like a Six-String Samurai, like quality wise.
Well, I'm a bad person to ask because I think Six-String Samurai is perfect for what it is. I think that's one of the only films that comes close to actually being an anime. It feels like an anime of that era. I really love that movie, but it's as good as it's as successful as Six-String Samurai. Whether you like it or not, I don't know, but it achieves what it's trying to do, and it uses its resources well. And there's a character in it that plays kind of like a manic pixie dream girl character, and she is awesome. She just like really lights up the screen. It's really fun.
And is it on Netflix?
Mm-hmm.
Oh, very cool.
Turbo Kid.
Turbo Kid.
Turbo Kid.
Turbo
Kid.
Turbo Kid.
BMX Bandits.
Nice.
Yep. Yeah.
Check it out.
So Julian, though,
Yeah.
I understand you've got something
Yeah,
you want
what's your
to
pick for
share with
more
us as the
Scarier?
world.
Drawn out decision viewing from a distance. Everything appears fine, but inside the mind. But inside the mind. But inside the mind. Viewing from a distance. Everything appears fine, but inside the mind. But inside the mind.
Did you see the serpent out in the swamp? Did you see how he can glide over the water, untroubled by what lies underneath? But the serpent, he knows what danger. He knows if he stopped to look, what lies beneath would consume him.
So my pick was broadly virtual reality horror. Since you guys don't all already have virtual reality headsets, I don't know what you're waiting for.
Yeah.
I had y'all come over and try out a sampling of some of the early horror offerings for virtual reality headsets that are out on the market now. So I have the HTC Vive, which has room scale tracking, so you can actually like walk around a small space, and you also have hand tracking, which so it gives you like hand presence, which I think right now in terms of what's available to consumers is the most kind of immersive virtual reality experience you can have. So I'm glad you guys all got to come over and check it out. You guys tried a couple of experiences on that system. One is called Brookhaven Experiment, essentially a zombie shooter. You're in a dark place, sometimes like totally dark, and you have a flashlight in one hand and a gun in the other hand. Sometimes you're in a slightly less dark place, and you can have
You put a
two
knife
weapons.
in that other hand.
Exactly. So you have limited ammunition. Your flashlight can run out. Sometimes you have to, and when they get close, you have to switch from the gun to a knife. And basically, you're more or less static. I mean, you can move around that small space, but there's no like teleportation mechanic or anything. You're just mostly in one place, and the zombies are coming at you in sort of waves. So that roughly describes it. The next one you guys tried is called A Chair in a Room, Green Water. I think A Chair in a Room started out as just like a demo that kind of had less going on, and they expanded it, and that's where Green Water comes into it. And essentially, you're in that game, you're a patient in some kind of, you're not really sure where, some kind of institution. And so when
You're
it's
kind of solving a mystery
yeah,
as
and
you
you
go along.
yeah, exactly, and you have to solve kind of puzzles, and it's very atmospheric.
You don't know what's reality and what's...
Yeah, it's very creepy, and like what's neat about it is you're always in these small rooms because you're prisoner essentially, but then you always see like there's always someone observing you, a scientist type person behind a frosted glass, so you can kind of make them out, but not really, and so it's kind of creepy. And then you always also like can glimpse other things through like small windows through the doors. You can kind of glimpse at other things going on in other rooms that are next to you. And so they use these kind of devices and lighting and things like that to kind of make things more claustrophobic and also kind of mysterious, where you sort of half see things. And so they do a nice job of creating a creepy atmosphere that way. But that one did have, I think does have some issues, some bugs they got to work out, and also some issues with the
And spiders.
that's right, with the controls. Sometimes basically things are a little clumsy. Sometimes you miss a clue, because I mean I think that's part of the struggle always with virtual reality stuff is and things can be all around you, and so if you're not looking in the right spot at the right time, they do a lot using audio cues, lighting cues, things like that. But if you're just like happen to be like trying to figure this other thing out while that's happening, you can miss it and things like that. So there are some issues they're still working out, but I think it's still in beta, more or less, the game. And then lastly, not everyone got to try this one, but on another system called the Samsung Gear VR, which works with a mobile phone, but it's surprisingly good. You only get rotational tracking with that one, so essentially you can look all around you, but it doesn't track your motions or anything. Considering it's powered by a smartphone, I think it works amazingly well. And on that one, you guys tried Sisters, which is more of like an interactive video. It's 3D rendered, a little bit more cartoon style. You essentially look all around you, and as you look at things, your gaze triggers actions. And it's kind of more of like a, you're in a creepy setting with these creepy sister dolls, and there's like jump scares and things like that. So that's a less interactive, more like experience-like. So I thought it was nice to throw in the mix and to also see what's possible with the mobile devices. Overall, part of the reason I chose this is that I think it's definitely a new spin on horror, and for me in particular, it's way too effective. I don't know what it is, because I can watch horror movies. Sometimes I get spooked out, and obviously I can a good jump scare will get me and that sort of thing. But generally, I can keep my distance, and if I'm getting freaked out, I can be like, "This is just a movie." I can look away, that sort of thing. But there's something about VR, the fact that once you put that headset on, I don't know. There's something. First of all, there's something sort of claustrophobic about that experience. And then, I don't know, there's this feeling that I can't, like, it tricks my brain just enough to put me on edge. I basically resisted trying any of the horror things. And I was like, okay, I'm going to use this as an excuse to suck it up and try it. Because even just, like, imagining it, like, and I've tried non-horror VR experiences that have kind of started creeping me out a little bit. Just, like there was one where you're underwater. Just being underwater, like, made me a little uncomfortable. And then there was one where you're underwater and like a giant whale like swims up and stops right in front of you and looks at you like 2 feet away. And you really, that's another thing in VR, you really get a sense of the scale of things. And like, I just remember that really creeped me out. So I finally tried them, and as maybe some of that was the anticipation, but it really like even the zombie shooter game, like I lasted maybe 5 minutes and I was like, I can't take this. Like, my heart rate just started pounding, and again, it does like do a good enough job at tricking your senses that you're there. And even though I'm like, this isn't real, like, because you've got headphones with the surround sound, I think there's just this thing that you really can't, like, the only way to stop it is to either pause it or just to take it off. You can't really like sort of, I think when you're watching a scary movie, you can like cover your eyes during the scary part or block your ears for a second. But here it's like, no, you're just like, you're committed to this and there's no escape unless.
Well, what's more
you're just
is
unless you just
you
yank
have
out
those
there.
things in your hand, so you can't like reach up and take the headset
Right,
off,
yeah,
even
yeah.
if you wanted to, because the
Right,
two
there's
wands are
the-
in your hand.
Yeah, the quickest way to stop it is just to hit like pause, basically.
Yeah,
but
but
then the
you're not
audio
thinking
still
of
keeps
that,
going
yeah.
sometimes. Yeah. So anyway, that's been my experience, and I mean, I think this is probably going to be somewhat of a slightly broader conversation because I think for 2 out of the 4 of us, this was your very first time doing anything in VR at all. So I'm sure like just talking about that in general is going to come into play. But I think trying to focus that conversation on like, VR in like horror in VR and what that could be. And the other thing too is the things we tried, it could be a hell of a lot scarier. The things that we tried, like, you can tell they're holding back and they're not like,
exactly.
because I mean, if you want to really like be like the horror movie filmmakers that just like want to go all out and really freak people out, like you could really freak people out. I think
It would
in
not
this.
be hard. It would not be
Right,
hard.
Yeah. But I think, but I don't want to even try that.
Exactly,
So I don't
yeah.
know. I don't know what that means. But I think maybe for people who really like feeling scared and really get a kick out of that, maybe this is the way to do it. And maybe also like it's because it's so new and novel. Maybe once I've spent hundreds of hours in VR or have experienced a lot of different things, maybe I'll be desensitized to it and it'll stop feeling, like I'll be able to separate myself from it. But I don't know. I feel like at the same time the technology is going to keep getting better. It's going to be more and more convincing.
More
So
immersive, yeah.
yeah, so I don't know if I feel like it's going to go the other way, where it's going to become more and more convincing and more freaky. But
Well, I think right off the bat, the disorientation of being in there is already working against you. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
I found that being in there, everything was very intuitive. It's definitely disorienting right off the bat.
yeah,
So
'cause
I feel like that adding an element of fright to that is exponentially more scary.
yeah, because it replaces your senses, but everything's a little bit off,
Yeah.
and also like your vision, like you don't have full peripheral.
Yeah.
So that's I think what gives it. It's sort of like you're a little bit like you're looking through the world through binoculars. So
Or through
already
blinders. You
yeah, I
got
feel like
blinders
that adds a little bit that sense of claustrophobia, and also like when things might be behind you, like in the
Yeah.
zombie shooter, like the fact that you don't have that extra peripheral vision, like makes you even more like,
To
oh,
really turn around, yeah.
yeah.
Right.
So there's that too. But anyway, I think I've said enough. I'm going to open
Yeah.
it up to you guys. What do you guys think?
Well, one thing, I guess. So for myself, the scariest tension-wise one was the zombie one. I didn't jump scare as much as more as like I felt a little more on edge because it's the oral experience is very clear. There's sounds that are triggers, so you turn toward it, but it's a MacGuffin. And so then you're constantly looking around. There's a lot of atmospheric sounds, and then when you do look and it's the shuffling thing, that's what's coming at you. That I don't know which ones you guys played. I played one where you're like in a hallway and you see like shapes pass the window. That was just like
Was that the zombie one in the hallway? Yeah.
yeah. It's not a jump scare one for me. Like it'd be like, oh shit, that guy's close. Kill. But it was more like I felt like those kind of games, like wave games, tense me up already,
Yeah.
just like playing that. And so now I'm tensed up and I know I have to maintain a physicality.
Right.
And so it was sort of like that gets to me, you get that sort of shortness of breath and just like, it's a tension thing for me.
Yeah.
When I was playing the flashlight one, like basically you can become very mechanical with it. Like, okay, A, B, check. Okay, I'm going to die. The girls, but it was very fun. My favorite part and probably the best part of the experience of any of the games experience was just in the menu screen, you look over and there's this huge T-Rex skull like in the desert, and then you look over on the horizon and there's this like tripod, like elder god silhouette, and the sense of scale, the sense of dimension, and like that was an atmospheric event for me. And honestly, like I could walk through a landscape and not fight zombies, and that would be the creep for me.
I had the same experience of really wishing that I could just sort of wander around that landscape. I mean, we talked in the last episode about Lovecraft adaptations. Could you imagine a like lovingly made Call of Cthulhu, like actually about the story, the Call of Cthulhu VR experience, or
Creatures from the Deep,
Dunwich horror
VR experience? If done well, it could just be totally unsettling. Yeah.
And you wouldn't have to show very much or do very much. The other one, so I really did like the room one. Again, what got clunky for me was there's this thing with cups, and you're supposed to like move the ball around, and I knew something was going to trigger. I just couldn't get it to work. And so that frustrated me. But when it finally did, it was cool. And there were some good cues, and it was fun. And that was the one where I think it had a great atmosphere and creeped me out a little bit. The girl one,
the sisters
one, the sort of my issue on that one was that maybe it's because the Gear VR is a little less immersive.
Yeah, because you don't have the hand presence.
But because you can only really, like, you're static. You're basically a tripod or something. Yeah. Like you're an eyeball on a stick or whatever. And so you're looking around at these things. And so I knew that since there's no real controller, it's all in that game. It's all sort of where you're looking is going to trigger stuff. That was one where it's a jump scare game, and so there's fun stuff happening and it's good atmosphere. But then, because I knew that when I look here, when I look back, there's going to be something. Like it was all pretty like A to B kind of stuff. So that one was a little more predictable to me because of the way you had to interface with it. So I think that the Gloomhaven one had some more of the surprising aspects, but mostly in that menu part. The chair one was the one where like the oppressiveness of the atmosphere weighed on me, like, and I didn't feel tense at all. I got a little pulled out by the interfacing, but otherwise, like, the atmosphere was cool, and there was like, it wasn't super jump scary, which was nice.
Yeah, so. But there is a sense because that one, because it gets you into like trying to solve puzzles, like you start to, you have to like focus and get lost in these details, but then every now and then you're reminded that like, oh, there's this other stuff going on,
right? And
like it's creepy, and like you're a little bit like, maybe there's gonna be a jump scare, like maybe they're gonna wait till I'm totally like like lost in solving this puzzle, and that's when they're gonna get me real good.
I was certain that was gonna happen at one point.
And there's a little of that with the boy, your son or whatever, in the hallway.
There's some jumpy stuff.
Sorta, because it's this like their mechanic is you look in the window and there's something there, and then you look away and you look back and it's like closer to you.
I didn't see it get too close to me.
Because before it's like sitting there, it's sitting
with its back to you.
Yeah, like on the phone.
It is, because I watched everyone run through at least that first section, and it was a little bit different each time. So I think it may depend when you look, how long you look. Like it wasn't always exactly the same.
So then, there's another moment you look over and he's like standing there, like kind of facing you.
Keith is like, no.
And it's I think the story in there is like, you were at a lake and somebody got drowned. There's sort of this tone.
Well, that's what you got to play through to figure out.
Yeah. Right. But that was the one that really got you, Keith.
Yeah, dude. I was not ready for that game. I want to start off by saying, like, Jules, I totally see why you're so into it. I found it to be super. My whole experience with that was just so inspiring. Like my train ride home, I was just like going over all these games in my head and like, okay, these are the limitations. This is what we can build with this thing. I came up with some stuff where I'm like, it's not that often that my brain gets chugging like that. But I actually spent most of the time at Jules's house not playing the scary games, but playing the like experiencing
It's
the
about
other stuff.
half and half. I would
Okay.
say. Yeah.
But the zombie game, I honestly could have played that all night long, and there was I didn't find that the least bit like I enjoyed it very much, but I didn't find it scary at all.
Yeah, I found that so surprising. Like that 0,
Well,
you were
for-
just like, doo-doo-doo.
Well, for me, I did have some trouble. Like I wanted the gun. I'm left-handed, so the gun being in my right hand, it just was not.
Yeah, and
it didn't work out as well as.
Yeah, and you had some issues also. Like it took us a while to figure out the reload mechanic, and
Yeah,
there were
that's
things
true.
like that got in the way.
To shoot, man. Like I said, I could sit there and shoot those zombies all night long. It's no problem. But when we put in that other game, I'm like, dude, just get me out. I don't want to.
Oh, that's so funny. I had the exact opposite experience.
Really?
That like the chair in a room really didn't scare me.
Oh man,
I
no!
thought
The whole time, like the it was just so oppressive. It was just like the tension and the whole like, because the other one is like, okay,
Right.
this is a video game
right.
that I get. This one in the way that when Myst first came out, where it's just like, I don't know, go do something, see figure it
Right.
out. This one was that way, except I just really felt
Wow.
Well,
I felt them watching.
I screamed at the zombie one.
well, I think the challenge was without another real human face there to tell me how I should react. I just had no feelings or
Oh,
emotion.
forget it, man.
I just watched the turtle on its back frying in the sun, and I just watched. I didn't understand.
No, but so Jules was like not shutting the machine off, and so I was in there, and he's like, do the thing with the ball, and so you got to play this kind of like 3-card Monty thing where you're putting the ball,
In a thing,
swooping the ball between 3 cups or whatnot. But then I went through, and when I saw the little kid, so there's a little tiny. You're in this small lab room. You're the lab rat in this scenario. And so they're supposedly trying to view what you're going to do with these props, and you're trying to figure out the puzzle.
Did you do the thing? Did it disappear?
What part? Which part?
So you do the
Yeah.
balls, and the ball disappears.
Yeah, he did do it because
Okay.
you had the water start dripping from the
Yeah,
center.
but the ball didn't disappear for me.
Well,
The
I
ball
think-
stayed there.
I think you didn't. Maybe you didn't like stop and look or whatever. Because basically what happens is that.
It turned into a spider.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
And then you carry the spider around. You throw it. You throw the cups.
Yeah.
And then you throw the ball in the
But
cup.
so when the drip
I tried to catch water in the cup for a
That's
while.
what
Yeah, we all did that.
Jules was like, I think you're supposed to. So that was as far as I made. Like that was as far as I made it was through there. But then, so I was over there trying to put the cup under where the water's dripping, and I picked up that postcard. But then I looked out that there's a little sliver of a door window that you look out, and there's a little like it's dark, and you just see a kid. I'm just like, no, dude, just get me out. Just get me out. And Jules can attest where I was like, Jules, buddy, I'm done. But he still didn't shut it off, and so I'm like, and then somehow I beat that level or whatever. And I ended
Yeah.
up back in the sleeping quarters, and I'm like, no, I'm still not. I can't do it.
Yeah, it turned out. I realized we were overthinking that one. It really, everything they do is just to get you in that corner to look out that little window.
I guess so.
All you got to do to get to the next point is just to see what's going on in there and to realize that it's creepy and stuff.
Yeah, it's just a little kid on a phone, and you hear him.
And he starts whispering and
Yeah. Yeah, no. But it reminded me of, and maybe I'm just a little weenie because all my life there were video games that really affected me. Even starting back, I know it's going to sound silly now, but Metroid. I remember Metroid being
I had
the
some creepy
scariest
moments, yeah.
game. And I think a lot of that had to do with the music and the backgrounds were all these like really kind of cave, bubbly, almost like coral
flesh
reef
things,
looking
yeah.
stuff. Yeah, with like bubbles in them and
And it's the same kind of thing where there's long periods where there's not much going on
Yeah.
and you're just exploring and you're just trying to find the next thing.
and you hear that music.
And then
going, dun, dun, dun,
yeah, and then all of a sudden, boom, there'll be a bad guy, and you're like, oh crap! Yeah,
dun, dun.
the game is so good.
What were some other ones? When Silent Hill came out, that movie, I was
Good
just like,
atmosphere
I
in
can't,
that,
I
yeah.
can't play this game anymore either.
Yeah,
But-
I think it, like with that interactivity, the fact that you have to actively be engaged with it makes it that much
Yeah.
harder. And it's also less. I think like movies, you can just predict them more. Like they just have this, tropiness to them, or like they have to move the story forward.
Yeah.
There's this momentum to it, all this stuff. Whereas games like can really just get you in that moment. and just make it last a long time.
And I mean, it's like you said earlier, if you look away from a movie, the movie keeps going.
Yeah, exactly.
But if you look away from a game, the game stops, right?
Yeah.
Or
And
no,
so-
or it's still going. You're just not.
You're just
You're
losing.
looking at a
Yeah.
different section. Yeah.
because it's like in a movie, like you're watching, the hero going through this thing,
Right.
and in a game, you are that person that's going
you're
through
either
the experience.
you're either controlling an avatar of it, or you, in the VR sense, you are that character.
Yeah, and I'm like, I don't want to be that character.
Right.
Well,
Yeah. I mean, that's a great point. Nobody really, as much as horror movies are amazing and can be really like invigorating, like you would never want to be the main character in a horror
not
movie.
at all. No.
No, because
you
you're like,
wouldn't
no,
want-
don't do that. Turn
Right.
away.
You wouldn't want to be Laurie Strode. You wouldn't want to be any of these people. Like,
Right. That's why it's kind of interesting.
Especially Laurie Strode.
There's that
Yeah.
game. It's basically they got it themed to be. We talked about it maybe a while ago, but they're theming it to be Friday the 13th, and it's going to be a multiplayer game where one of you is maybe you're all like campers and you're trying to run away, or one of you is the
I think
Jason.
it's one
Oh,
versus
that's good.
versus
Yeah.
That's
several.
real
Yeah.
good.
And
Yeah,
and
I wouldn't want to play a game like that
It's like a
because
more
if it's
intense
Jason,
werewolf.
you can't win. Like so.
No. Well, the idea is that as Jason has abilities, so the longer you hide in a place, like if you're a character and you don't move from like under the bed or whatever, you become more visible to him. And he has some other abilities.
Yeah, so I mean, what's the point of not being Jason? You know what I mean? Like I
Well,
play
the
that
idea
game
is
like I want to either be Jason or I just don't even want to play. Like
Because
what's
that's
the point?
like an asymmetrical game,
Right.
Where it's like you've got two totally different.
It's more like spooky. It's like hide and seek gun shooter game where one person, like you're really trying to hide
I understand,
as long
but
as
if
you
it's
can.
like, if it's hey, if we all work together and set a trap, we can trap Jason before
Well,
he kills us all.
I think
then that's one thing.
but
But
the
if
conceit-
it's like a real Friday the 13th thing, it's just like, no, I'm just gonna wait until I'm either the third one or the fourth one to
right.
die.
Well, I think the goal is to be the final girl. Like you want to be
yeah,
the
see,
last.
I don't know. That doesn't appeal to me.
I like that idea. Well, there are better, like more active, like the AVP, the Alien vs Predator, or I guess it was Alien vs Predator, because you could be Predator, you could be an alien, or you could be a Marine.
Right.
And those were pretty fun, asymmetric. They got a different abilities.
I'd be Predator.
Yeah, who wants to be a Marine in that scenario? Nobody.
Unless I can drive that tank from Aliens.
Oh, that would be pretty cool.
Yeah.
Still, I'd rather be an alien.
Yeah. Get that pulse cannon like the Game Over guy.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Are they going to do a Stranger? I saw that they may do an 8-bit Stranger Things game.
So good. I hope they do.
But
Sounds
maybe
good.
they'll do a Stranger Things VR experience,
Oh, yeah.
8-bit.
But getting back to the ones we did play, I found it to be that one to be super terrible. The chair in a
Gloomhaven,
room,
yeah.
Greenhaven or whatever.
Greenwater, yeah.
Greenwater was just super terrifying. Don't ever play it for me again. But
Got it.
the I did do a little bit of this tilt brush thing. It's
Yeah, it's a 3D
so
drawing.
inspiring.
It's a 3D
Yeah,
drawing application.
Google makes it. I think it's kind of going to play a major role in how things are designed in the future. Like to be in a space and to kind of sculpt a thing
Did you see
in it.
the sound activated brush? It'll
Yeah,
like,
but we didn't have any music in it.
Yeah, like we would have had to reboot to get the mic
right.
working. Yeah, this stuff's still like definitely like version 1. There's a lot
No,
of
but
kinks to work out.
Now's the
but-
time to be exploring. I just think it's so cool. But I'm gonna turn it over to Jocko now to talk about his experiences
Oh yeah.
with it.
So this was my first time with any VR as well.
Mine
I'm
too, actually.
Yeah. I was saying actually that's not entirely true. In like 1999, I went to a Dave and Buster's where they had this rig that you put on this huge helmet, and you had like a controller to shoot, and you walked on a treadmill type thing.
Oh, cool.
Where it was like a big sort of circle that you could walk all around on, almost like a trackpad for a mouse, but big enough to walk on. That would kind of move you all around, and that was like a really bad VR experience. Like a great try, guys. But
Yeah.
like it was pretty bad. But I was something about my brain. I was just absolutely immediately immersed so deeply. It was like I don't know. I think that I feel extra susceptible to VR in a way that makes me really just want to get VR and have it all the time. But as far as the horror goes, the chair in the room, like I was saying, didn't really do it for me because I am very comfortable with and very familiar with psychological horror, the slow burn is kind of my favorite. I actually, for as obsessed with horror as I am, I hate jump scares.
Yeah.
I love
I'm
movies.
the same way. I find them to be cheap.
I love movies with jump scares, but I am so scared by jump scares.
Yeah.
Like I scream. And so both sisters, even though I knew, it's like that thing where you're turning your head from left to right, and you're like, I know when my head reaches right, something's gonna be there, and it's like, bah. Yep, I was right. I'm scared. But the zombie one for me stressed me out so much because it was things. They're not moving fast, the zombies, but they are continually moving. And there was a moment that really, really scared me, that really got me, where I had killed a zombie behind me. I saw one was kind of coming to the left and one was coming right at me. So I'm shooting the other one, and then I turned just sort of to check to see if there was another one coming from behind me. And I realized that I hadn't killed the one behind me. I had knocked it down, and now it was in my face attacking me on the ground because it had crawled to me. And that scared me so much to think that, because that was a true scare. It wasn't like, oh, I know it's coming and it's going to be here soon. It's, boo. I've eliminated this threat. There's not going to be anything there when I look. And then I looked and it was right there. And that freaked me out. I was almost at a point where I was like, all right, Jules, I get this one. I think I get the gist. I'm done. This is cool, But now my brain is like just reeling with possibilities, like you had said, but in horror of like, what type of stories can we tell? How far can we push it? Is there an audience for pushing it really far? Is there an audience out there that wants VR Hostel? I don't know.
Right.
I'm not that.
It's like
but,
you put on the vest and
maybe,
it stabs you.
Yeah, exactly.
Well, no.
But maybe there is.
I think you got to. There certainly has to be. I mean, if you look at some of the really gruesome and scary haunted houses that pop up,
right,
that have been popping up because we're right near Halloween, I kind of think that there would be not a small audience for like, go ahead, lay it on me, see how scary this could get.
Yeah, haunted house type of thing is
that's a great
concept for this.
Yeah.
I mean, the challenge there is, until they get the motion stuff down, like how they would move you, that's number one. And then number two, I think the challenge will be like building the atmosphere and using story and character to scare you, to make it so that you're not just jump scaring people all the time.
Which is why I think starting with Lovecraft would be a really, really good start.
Yeah. I do think that, and I mean, I think Ready Player One sort of like predicted this, but I do think that existing intellectual properties like Star Wars has already made some VR stuff, but I think even when it comes to horror or anything, I think is actually a great idea because at least initially it takes a long time to build these worlds,
right? And
it also and to build experiences, and I think basically if you use an existing IP, it's kind of a shortcut. Like as soon as the person steps in, they already understand the world. They already know the mechanics. I think because VR puts you in a totally different world, like to already know the rules, to already know the backstories, and then you can just focus on the experience. And because it's a very different experience than reading a book or watching a movie, like it's not really a story. You really are experiencing something. You just have to put the user in a context that's like a surreal context, like something you can't do in real life, and then they can just have fun or be scared or whatever it is. So I think that's really, at least I think once bigger money comes in, I think that's where a lot of this is going to go, and I think it just makes sense.
And I think too, you'll see, I mean, like an easy obvious one would be like what's that game, Ico, where you basically you're with someone else, like a young child or something, and you're trying, like a Last of Us type world, where you're trying to guide them out safely.
Right.
And so you're not just afraid for yourself, but you have to leave them to solve a puzzle or something like that. Like you're also afraid for this, just like you're afraid in a game for your avatar being put in a position where this is someone else who I'm in charge of and is important to the development of this thing. And that's finding ways to more than just like what's affecting you jump scare wise or whatever, but like other characters and how they're affected by the world too, and making you care about them is going to be another interesting
and
thing.
I think playing on those dynamics of like, like someone dependent is really smart because like, so in one of the experiments, which Keith didn't get to try, it's called The Lab. It's just like Valve's, which is a video game company. They just made like a series of mini games, and in one of the mini games, they just made this very like rudimentary like robot dog that runs around, and basically if he comes up to you, you can pet him and he'll respond, and you can throw sticks and he'll catch him and fetch him, and it's very basic. Like it's not really even AI. You can.
It doesn't even have a face. It's just like a glass ball for a head.
But it's totally endearing, and you totally like instantly love this thing and want to scratch its belly, and you can, and so I think if you just put like a little bit more work and give it a little more personality, like you could very easily create characters that you like need to protect, and there is something about VR that things are more visceral in that way.
Yeah.
So it just like heightens it even more, I think.
The mobility thing, I think, wouldn't be a terribly hard solve. In that, in fact, I was talking to Zoya about this just today.
Mm-hmm.
If because there are plenty of games. I mean, we've grown up with video games where you don't move, but the stuff moves around you, almost like a flight simulator.
But the thing is, unless the motion is constant,
or
like basically on rails, like without acceleration or deceleration.
I disagree. I think that you have those wands that have plenty of buttons.
Yeah.
One trigger is forward accelerate.
No. What I'm saying is, when that happens, unless if you're in a vehicle, if you're in a cockpit of some kind, that can work because
there's a frame.
Because there's a visual frame of reference. If there isn't any, like then you get motion sickness.
Right. So,
well, I think that's going to be a problem almost no matter what. You're in VR until people get used to it. You're going to have this kind of disorienting sensation.
The technology also can improve. I think the technology.
What they're working on, like some of the VR stuff where you're moving on rails is ones like where you're on a roller coaster, like physically actually. on a roller
any of
coaster.
that stuff. I'm just saying like that until you can explore an environment easier than the way they have it now.
Yeah, which is right now it's basically teleportation.
Yeah, right. Until that happens, I just don't think that. I think that's a kind of a limitation for a lot of games.
Yeah,
or stories.
They have a couple different. There's a solution that like for horse riding or for bike riding. There's a what's it called like a stationary bike.
Yeah.
Oh, cool.
That like the horse will go as fast as you're pedaling kind of
no,
thing.
well, I mean, I think the easy solve would be you sit in a chair, and then within the game, it could be like a 0G kind of like jetpack thing. Like a astronaut with a jetpack.
There are a couple of games that do that. But again, that does limit that. I mean, the second you put somebody in some kind of vehicle, that just limits the kind of game that it is.
But unless you are the vehicle, like you are a mech, you are inside the mech,
there's definitely a bunch of games.
Or you're
that are
like a
Slimer
ghost. You know what I mean?
Well,
he's got no legs, but he can float.
Well, the challenge is like I played some Minecraft on the Gear VR, and when you're immersed in it, when you're like fully in it, the motion really, because again, motion sickness basically is your eyes perceiving motion, but
your inner ear,
but your body is not, or your body perceiving motion, your eyes is not. So like reading a screen that's static while your body's being rocked in a car will give you. That's why So those are kind of like when you're on a ship, you're supposed to look at the horizon because then your body will be perceiving your eyes will be perceiving the same thing your body is perceiving. So that's how you are supposed to counter. So the thing when I was playing Minecraft,
or take Dramamine.
my whole perception was moving as my character moved, and I had periphery moving around me, but my body was static. I'm sitting in a chair, and that started to get me ill. So we pop it out into a frame, same motion, but now it's like a giant screen in my living room, and that no problem at all.
Wow.
So that's the kind of like that's the issue. But some of the solutions, like I was saying, there's stationary bikes. There's also these things similar to what you were talking about, where you have like a kind of a belt.
Yeah, but I mean, nobody's going to
Yeah,
buy
that-
all that
around.
stuff.
That's the problem. A lot of the solutions
Are like
involve
large
more
physical things.
Yeah,
Right,
involve
yeah.
more hardware.
Exactly. Well, I'm just a lot of the stuff, a lot of the solves that I'm trying to come up with
Yeah.
just are like with what you have.
Yeah, there definitely are solutions.
Chips in your head.
That as soon as you're not like just a human, as soon as you're not yourself, essentially,
You're removed.
Yeah, again, it's just not as immersive. You don't get as much that sense of presence. So I mean, being in a vehicle works, but in terms that it doesn't make you sick, but it doesn't necessarily make for the most like rich experience.
Well, I
guess.
agree, except that what they do for movement now is not you moving; it's you pointing to a place.
Well,
and-
the thing is, you can move like within
Right,
that,
right, within
that
that,
3x6 space,
right.
And so it allows you to just, and so you could just make games that are just within your actual space, and there are games that do that, like Fantastic Contraption, like Tilt Brush. Tilt Brush, you can do everything without, and you're actually moving around what you're doing and stuff like that. So, yeah, I mean, but in a way, I think it's kind of a fun time to do it because essentially, I just feel like limitations lead to creativity.
Exactly, yeah.
And we're at that point where there's a lot of limitations, but there's also a lot of opportunity to
Right.
come up with solutions.
To build a Jamiroquai floor.
Yeah.
Yes.
And we're at that point where it's still like we're really just seeing, like, I mean, we are seeing some conventions already, but I think there's still a lot more exploration that can be done, but it's just going to take a while for it to hash out. I mean, part of the problem right now is you only have one system really that has where you can actually walk around in. And so it's not like there's not a lot of financial motivation. So it's really only people who are like really excited about it that are doing it, which, they just have limited resources and it takes a lot to build a virtual world, And I think that's the other big challenge to this going forward is it's going to be expensive to
develop.
to make these experiences. Yeah. Like unless they're heavily stylized.
Well, I think it's already less expensive than it would have been 20 years ago.
Oh yeah. Yeah.
Like I don't know the software to do it, but I could build an environment myself at home on my computer if I knew the right software.
Yeah.
And so that being said, the barrier for entry isn't, terribly high. I mean, I wouldn't know how to do any of the interactivity part, but
But it does take like a pretty. Yeah, I think too, like hardware wise, things are still expensive, and you need a pretty beefy computer. You got to spend at least, $1,200, I would say, on a computer. That's minimum, and then you have to, on top of that, also get a headset, which you can get developer editions for maybe like $500. But so I mean, it's not,
right.
it's not like the iPhone where like.
You have heavy adoption bases yet. Yeah.
Yeah,
Right.
but again, at the same, I think if you have all that stuff, it's a good time to get in because there are a lot of challenges. But there's not. I mean, the downside is there's not a big market, so it really has to be like a passion project at this
Right.
point. I
Right.
think.
No,
So I don't
it's
early
on the
days, very,
cusp.
very
It's
early
on the
days.
cusp though, like
Yeah. I feel like this is like the VR is where the internet was in 1994. Where you really have a small audience, everybody's passionate, there's a lot of weird, interesting stuff, and then at some point like
you
there'll
got
be
John trolling.
There'll be a critical yeah.
Yeah.
At some points you'll hit critical mass, and then like EA and them will start pouring tons of money making
Right.
huge games based on existing IP, and everyone will forget about the little independent guys, and it'll be all very commercial. But
Well, and then it'll go.
awesome, I guess.
But then it'll become ubiquitous, and you'll have indie guys again.
yeah.
I mean, that's right now we're on the other end of that, where everybody is making games, and the big guys are in heavy competition with the little guys.
Yeah. Yeah, because you can like spend big money on one big game, or you can play 10 little games that are
Right.
just as interesting. Yeah.
So it's also great within that experimentation that even though there's not a huge adoption base, there's already 3-4 plus horror games that we've already just found and tried.
And there's
Right.
definitely more that like I just from the reviews just didn't look great. And there's more coming out all the time. Like I mean, I'm having a hard time keeping up with. There's
that's
new,
great.
Yeah, new games every week, but they're all like very beta. It's the downside, but it's neat.
So you're gonna get a VR set? Johnson?
Yeah, can I borrow like $2,500? That'd be awesome.
Done and done. You have Vice.
Take it out of
Oh yeah, that's right.
Take it out of the petty cash.
Cool.
I think
talk
it's-
to
I
our
think it's-
receptionist out
I
front.
think once the PlayStation VR comes out later this year, I think it's going to give VR a big push because if you already have a PlayStation 4, which lots of people do, it's a smaller investment to get the VR headset and the wands for that. It's not as good of an experience as the Vive in terms of tracking and quality.
right.
Like everything's a little rougher around the edges, but I think it's good enough that it's going to get people on board. And then
I think the challenge too is that it's a PS4 is a more closed developer system.
yeah.
So it's a little harder to.
I have a
but
question.
it has a bigger market built in. So I think
The PS4 headset, can you, if you just wanted to plug in your headset and play a video game through that, could you do that?
no, it requires the PS4.
I mean, like if you have the PS4
Yeah.
and you're playing No Man's Sky, can you just play No Man's Sky?
No.
No
What's the
virtual
point?
screen.
Well, because a game really has to be developed for VR.
Well, I understand, but
But he's saying like, could you?
well,
could
you know
just,
how
like,
you can watch a movie
yeah.
and be like in a
Uh-huh.
where you just plug in a movie and it looks like in the VR helmet, it looks like you're kind of in a theater.
Oh, you mean like just like a flat
a
screen?
virtual
Yeah.
screen.
Oh yeah. You'll be able to do. I don't know if you'll be able to do that with the PlayStation VR. I'm guessing you will. I bet you they will build that functionality.
That to
in, but-
me would be a way cool way to play video games.
Yeah.
I had
Because then you
heard
can
that
like
they're-
ignore everyone around you, like
Right.
your
Well,
little wife and
Or
child.
just
Or if
get
you-
in your game cocoon, you know?
Yeah.
Yeah, or if somebody is, like sleeping in the room
Yeah.
that you're in or whatever. Or
So you can be like, ah!
Yeah, when I'm playing, I'm just screaming. I thought I had read somewhere that some will be the full, you're using the wands, and some it'll just be you'll be wearing this and using a controller and able to look around.
Yeah,
which
that's
would be
how
very cool.
that's how the Oculus Rift works right now. All their games are just controller based. But I think, and some games will just have the regular game, and then they'll have a little VR add-on that goes along with the game.
Right.
So you'll buy one game and you'll get a little
Right.
VR experience with it.
That's probably how I will get into it if I will.
Same
I've
here,
already
yeah.
got the camera and the PlayStation 4, so
Nice.
How much would the VR thing cost? Do you know
I think it's gonna be $400 for
on
the
top
headset.
of the machine?
Yeah,
Yeah,
for the
okay.
headset, and then you buy the wands, which already exist. I forget how much they cost.
The Move
Are
one.
they old? Are they the
Yeah.
the move?
They're
Yeah.
using the
ones?
Move wands.
You don't have to if well, I mean, I guess if you wanted to play the more VR two hands thing, but if you just wanted to play with your
Depends on the game, I think.
yeah,
Yeah.
okay.
And then also the camera, which it probably also goes with the Move thing.
Would the camera just come with your VR set or with the move
I
set?
think it's
yeah.
I don't think they've bundled it because I think they're trying to make it sound cheaper than it is.
Yeah.
you know? I mean, it's probably, if you add it all up, it's probably still close to $1,000. But
System and everything.
you know, you can for your Christmas you can get the PlayStation 4, and for your birthday you
If
can
you're
get
a good boy, you can.
yeah, you're right. You can get the headset.
If you're
and
of the
then-
privileged 1% like us, with our parents who buy us presents.
Well, and then as soon as one kid has it, then like 5 other kids are gonna get to play it every now and then. So
Right.
I think it's gonna grow from there.
Oh, mother, a pony with a PS4. Thank you, mother. This will go in my Porsche and my Pontiac perfectly. Oh, Percival.
I
What a
much
good
rather
boy.
would have preferred the dappled mare, mother.
Mother. It's painted. This painted Pinto.
pony.
The P people.
The alliteration family.
Yeah, the alliterated 1%.
Well, so that was horror VR.
Jules, I will say though that thank you for picking this to make us come over to do that. It
Yeah.
was really,
Hey,
really
that
cool.
was
Like I
cool.
said,
My
super
pleasure.
inspiring. I want to build a game that's kind of like a tower defense type of thing, but it's set up almost like Tilt Brush, except you draw on your like fortifications and stuff. And it could be like in 360 in all dimensions. You know what I mean? So you kind of have to see where. The example I was using is in the movie Gravity. That there's this debris field that's just orbiting Earth, it's moving at like 26,000 miles an hour. So, I forget in the movie how often it comes by, but like every 19 minutes or something like that, here comes the debris field. So every time you got to kind of like, it's predetermined which kind of direction it's going to be coming from. So you have to kind of do repairs and or make fortifications on this thing or something like that. I think it'd be kind of neat.
My game idea is you are on a giant's table, and you have you can get like handfuls of bread, and he puts 2 cups down in front of you, and he says drink from either one.
The giants,
and
giants
either
drink.
one you drink from, you die in some horrible way.
Unless
it's randomly generated.
No, but unless you turn the tables on the game.
Climb in to the giant's face and burrow through his eye.
Yep, eat his eye.
Eat his brain. Yeah.
Yeah.
Perfect.
That sounds good. Or you
And
go
then
to
what if that giant becomes like a playground, like
Yeah.
a mountain for you to play in next
and you
time?
go walk around, and there's just these children that turn into wolves, and you have to drag them into.
Dude, we got to make this game.
Yeah, sounds good.
We got to make this game.
Cool. Well, I'm glad you guys are all so inspired.
Yeah.
So,
So Jules,
yes.
you see a turtle lying on its back in the sun.
So, Julian, did you get that reference that he was doing?
No.
Okay.
I mean, I sounds familiar, but I can't.
You'll know
place
it.
it. I didn't place
I'll explain it to you.
I've seen things. I've seen sunsets on the planet of the moons. What? Isn't that
Anyway,
exactly the speech that
virtual-
Rutger Hauer gives at the end?
Virtual reality.
Such a question, there are many possible answers, such as hard work.
Feel I'm alone in this.
Thanks for listening to our series under the topic More Scary.
More scarier.
We'll give you an address where you can go to Jules's house and play his VR.
Yep.
Maybe.
Or not. You can find me on Twitter. I am John Holt. I am at Lord Joho on Twitter. And you can find me on Snapchat at Not Dead John. Keith, where can people find you?
Well, first of all, I want to say if you go over to Julian's house, you're lucky because they got a new air conditioner. Yeah, man. So now you can be luxuriating.
In the VR and the AC.
Yeah, you can wear a shirt while you VR.
We V-Rack is what we call it.
But you can see my stuff at tumblr.com, earthlingkeith.tumblr.com, and that's where you can see my stuff. What about you, Julian?
I'm Julian Cage. You can find me on Twitter and Instagram at Beautiful Jules. And how about you, Jocko?
And I am on Twitter and Instagram at Jocko Farino. And you can see my writing on my portfolio site, which is clippings.me/Jocko Farino.
All right. So before we go, it's Halloween time.
Yeah.
Keith, what's your costume?
My costume is going to be the Noid.
Ooh.
Yeah.
Jocko, what's your costume?
Oh, man. That's a really good question. Come back to me.
I was actually debating a couple of costume ideas from Stranger Things.
Oh, I'll tell you. So at Gen Con, there was a man in a floral shirt that kind of looks like wallpaper, and he had like little tiny Christmas lights.
That's
and he
awesome.
wrote the
So
letters
good.
on the
That's
wall.
so good.
And then there was a woman who had a beige phone and a little axe and was dressed like Joyce. Very, very nice. That's yes.
I think I could totally be 11 if just shave the mustache.
What do you think? Just be like Mr. 11.
Just get the long wig and
Just paint your mustache blood red.
Oh, I remember. So I think I'm going to go as Jackson Galaxy, the cat daddy.
Ooh.
Yeah. He's
From what? What is
okay.
that?
Have you all seen My Cat from Hell?
No.
Okay. So, real briefly, there's a sort of a dog whisperer version for cats, and this guy Jackson Galaxy is like a rockabilly guitarist by night but by day he's like a cat whisperer.
Oh, yeah. All right.
Yeah, and he's got really extreme facial hair, and his head is shaved bald. And I think we probably do look alike if I do my facial hair like him. So.
Wow. And this is a movie?
No, it's a TV show,
It's
right?
a TV show.
Yeah.
Yeah.
What?
Yeah,
It's
it's called
kinda
My
like
Cat from
Cat.
Hell. It's amazing.
Dude,
Wow.
his facial hair is out of this
Out
world.
of this world. He's also taught us
That's
a
why he's
lot about
Jason
how to
Galaxy.
take care of our cats and give them what they need.
Is it live action or animated?
Yeah, it's live action. This is a reality show.
Wait, what?
Yeah, it's called.
It's like a cat whisperer type of thing. Like,
Yeah.
please help me. My cat is eating all my
Yeah.
plants.
Wait, so what is he by night again?
Oh,
he's
he's
a
like a
musician.
rockabilly musician.
Okay.
Yeah.
And for some reason, like I was just picturing this in space and all this weird.
Might as well be. It's so weird.
Because his name is something Galaxy.
Jackson Galaxy.
Yeah, like I was totally like Guardians of the Galaxy.
Right.
You know what I mean? Like I was thinking Guardians of the Galaxy.
You're like, wait, how is this real?
How is it not more real?
So how about you, Holt?
Yeah, what about you?
I mean, I haven't seen many of them, but maybe Harley Quinn from the Suicide Squad.
Yeah, that's a good idea.
Get those short shorts.
Yeah. Yeah, I don't know. I guess I'll be Jackson Galaxy too. Yeah, I'm
Cool.
stealing it now.
Wait, let's do it together.
Yeah, I'll be the cat.
No, yeah,
Well, my
exactly.
girlfriend is going to be a cat. Yeah,
Oh.
Blair's going to be a cat, and I'm going to be Jackson Galaxy.
And I'll be an upset cat owner.
Yeah. I don't know why Reginald doesn't love me.
Why does Blair the cat always scratch outside the box? It drives me crazy.
Dude, I do wish I could have this guy come talk to my cat, though. He needs a talking to.
All right, gang. So you can find more about our show and the stuff we talked about and all that stuff at newtoyoushow.com. Jocko, again, thanks so much for coming
Yeah,
out. It's
thank
so
you
great to have you on.
so much for having
Yeah,
me. This
every
is my
time you come on, we
favorite-
like it.
Oh, good. That's
Yeah.
great. This is my favorite podcast.
Oh, wow.
Yeah,
All right.
it's great to be a part.
Thank
Yeah.
you.
Yeah.
Well,
so,
then I won't tell you about Malcolm Gladwell's podcast then.
He did invite me. I turned it down to be here.
Oh,
so
good.
yeah.
wow. You can find us on Twitter at newtoyoushow.com. No, you can't. At newtoyoushow. And yeah, you should rate and review on iTunes if you could. If you like it, let people know about the New to You Show. Yeah, leave us reviews on there. That'd be great. You can watch us on YouTube. We're also on Google Play. And yeah, any podcast app should have it if it has a decent RSS feed reader. But yeah, thanks again, gang.
Yeah.
That was more Scarier. Happy Halloween.
Yeah, we hope
everybody.
Halloween.
we hope you didn't frighten you to death.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And if we
So
did,
sorry about that.
send your complaint letters to spooky P.O. Box spooky.
So next week is fall foliage. Is that going to be the theme?
No,
know.
it's
Famous pies.
favorite recipes. Yeah,
Cool.
yeah. It doesn't have to be pies. There could be like a cranberry sauce recipe. It could be like I don't know, stuffing.
Stuffing.
It's all canning. What would
Good.
you can if you could?
Yeah.
If you
riveting audio.
I can't can, but if I could can, I would can.
I would can all the cans.
Yeah. If
Anyway,
you can,
eat a pumpkin
or two.
or two. Happy Halloween.
Vaseline.
Yeah, yeah.
All right, gang. It
And
may
listen,
not be
listen.
new.
Wait, though. But if you're handing out candy to kids on Halloween, like give them the good stuff, man.
Yeah, don't
Come on.
don't give him a toothbrush.
Yeah.
Come on.
Well,
Yeah.
you know, toothbrush
No,
ain't half
no,
bad, but
no.
let me tell you,
It's bad.
You know what you do?
no hard candies.
Make-
Kids want the chocolate.
Make your own candies.
And put razor blades
No,
in
no. Just wrap them up nice, like quality ingredients. Put them out for kids.
What about a razor blade shaped candy?
Oh, that would be
Ooh,
good.
that would sell really well at Hot
razor
Topic,
blades?
actually.
That would sell well.
Yeah,
on
like a
Hot
thin
Topic.
mint.
Oh yeah, and,
Like a thin
and it
mint.
has like like red jelly inside.
Oh, nice.
When you bite it, it oozes out.
Be raspberry.
Yeah.
White chocolate razor blades with raspberry fillings.
That sounds delicious.
Getting
Man.
pretty spooky.
Yeah.
Let's build that in VR.
Yeah.
It may not be new, but maybe it's new to you.
This pitiful life is all about the music. This pitiful life is all about the music.
With him together forever, without the limitation of time ever again. So the second coming of the Lord is not dead. They're two separate entities.